Now it's a holiday season and the airline tickets are super expensive, so I thought it would be a good idea to talk about medical travel and specifically, should you travel somewhere else for your facelift? Hi, I'm Dr. Konstantin. I'm a facial plastic surgeon and I'm based in New York City. Today we're talking about traveling for your facelift. Medical tourism is very popular. A lot of people travel abroad or they might be traveling to another state to get a cosmetic or dental procedure sometimes. So is it a good idea? It's a bad idea, or it's just normal stuff? We all travel, so why not travel for our medical procedure? Why would somebody travel somewhere else to get a cosmetic procedure? Wouldn't it be more convenient and comfortable for somebody just to do it at home where they have all the support? Well, there are actually two different reasons why people would consider doing it. First reason is that people just look for somebody who might be specializing in facelift or specializing in this particular type of facelift. And I hear this a lot in my practice. People would come from another state or another country and they say, well, nobody in my area really does this particular type of facelift, or nobody has extensive experience with facelift, nobody specializes in them. And of course, since this is the procedure that I'm going to be doing probably once in my lifetime, I want to find somebody who will give me the results that I'm looking for. The second reason why somebody might be traveling for a facelift is the cost. Now, the cost of the cosmetic procedure could be very expensive. Facelift might be priced at $100,000 or even higher sometimes, depending on the area, of course, where you live, and not everyone can fit this kind of expense into their budget. So traveling somewhere else where you can get a quality procedure, but at much less of a cost, seems like a good idea, and many people actually doing this. Before deciding whether you should travel for a facelift, there are a few factors you should consider. Let's say you found a perfect plastic surgeon or a clinic if you're talking about traveling abroad, and you're generally happy with the appearance of those before and after photos that you researched, and you heard some good things about that place. So you would consider the price, of course, because this is something that will determine whether you can afford it or it just may not fit your budget. So traveling abroad usually is cheaper than doing the procedure in the United States, in Los Angeles or New York City, for example. But you also, of course, have to consider your travel expenses, because you are going to be buying tickets, you're going to be staying in that area, and the length of stay could differ from person to person. It could differ from procedure to procedure. Typically, we in our practice ask people to stay for a week after a facelift, at least a week, so we can take their stitches out, but it could take longer because the healing from this particular procedure might be a little delayed with some patients. So you have to factor that into your decision. So there could be some extra expenses, not just the cost of the procedure. Number two is the consideration of privacy, and this is a very big positive thing for many people who travel. If you live in a place where everybody knows each other and you get a facelift there, everybody would immediately know you had something done. But if you travel somewhere else and you stay there for a little bit to make sure that everything heals good enough so it's not very noticeable that you had the procedure, then of course you go back, just coming back from vacation, looking refreshed, rejuvenated, and nobody would guess that you had something done. It's very common actually with people coming here to the United States from Europe, and they might be staying with us for a month or so, and when they come back, they look perfectly fine. Nobody could ever guess that they had something done, and this is their way of keeping it private and not letting everyone know that they had a facelift. Number three, the idea of traveling and taking a vacation somewhere else other than where you live could be quite attractive to some people. I know that a lot of people who come to my practice to get a facelift here in New York City, they enjoy their time being here. They might go to the museums, they go to the Broadway shows, they take a walk in a Central Park, so they enjoy their time spent here. The same way if you go abroad, then it's a beautiful destination and it could be all-inclusive place where you're comfortable and the food is great. That may not be a bad way to spend time recovering from a facelift. Now, the previous three were mostly positive. Now, let's talk about things that could be a bit of a negative and a turn off, something that might turn you against traveling for a facelift. So, number one, you really have to consider local aesthetics. When you go somewhere else to get your face done, make sure that you are on the same page with the doctors there and they actually going to be getting you the results that you want, because the facial aesthetics differs from place to place. Things that people consider a beautifully done facelift in Los Angeles may not look the same in New York City, because even in the same country but different states, we have slightly different standards, and those standards could differ significantly if you go to another country, and even making it more difficult if you go somewhere else where there could be a bit of a language barrier. It might be hard for you to explain to the doctor what exactly you're looking to get after a facelift, or it might be a little hard for them to explain to you what kind of procedure you would be getting and what kind of result you would be looking for. So you might end up disappointed if you don't consider that aesthetic part that is particular to that travel destination that you are choosing to get your facelift at. Number 5. This is something that's very important, and you definitely should keep this in mind. Quality of healthcare and standards of healthcare could be very different in other countries. Living in the United States, most of the places should be reasonably the same. Of course, there are local differences, but for the most part, the standards should be fairly similar. When you going somewhere else, even if you get your surgery done by a very experienced surgeon, somebody who's very well trained, the medical equipment and all other things could be sufficiently different that would affect your results, and it might affect your health, which is the most important thing. So definitely look into this before making a decision to travel somewhere else for your facelift. Number 6, and this is another big consideration, you have to ask, well, what happens if something doesn't go right, or if I'm not happy with my results? And with any surgical procedure, that could always happen, even though facelifts considered to be a very low complication rate procedure, but still things can go wrong. So what's going to happen, what's going to be done, how it's going to be done, and what recourse you have if you're not entirely happy with the procedure. And here again, we might have different standards than people in different areas of the world. In the United States, typically we work with the patient, we try to make sure that the patient is happy. In other places, some clinics might be working with you and they might actually do their best to help you to treat the complication and try to make you look as good as possible, doing some touch-up procedures. But other places might just say, no, we did all we could for you, and really we are not interested in working with you on making sure that you're happy or on treating your complications. So before you make your decision, before you decide to go somewhere else, you should definitely have an answer to this question. What happens if I have a complication, and what happens if I'm not quite happy with my result? So what's the conclusion here? Should somebody travel for a facelift, or should they just stay local or not do anything at all if there's no local specialist available to do the procedure? Well, I personally think traveling for your facelift may not be a bad idea as long as you've done all the research that's necessary. You research the doctor or the clinic where you get the procedure, you're comfortable with the price, you're comfortable with the travel expenses, you know what's gonna happen if there's something that's not going right or you're not entirely happy with the results, and you are 100% sure that you will get a quality care in the place where you're going to. I'm Dr. Konstantin. I'm a facial plastic surgeon based in New York, and if you'd like to know more about facelift, facial rejuvenation, or cosmetic procedures around the face, you can visit me on Instagram, or if you have any questions, you can ask me questions in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer them.